Hi, and welcome to Unmuted. I'm Judge E.J. Russell, and here at Unmuted, we are going to educate and inform you. Unmuted will feature a variety of guests, including politicians, community leaders, entertainers, decision makers, and others, addressing news-breaking issues and compelling concerns to the community and nation. If you would like to contact us, please send an email to unmuted@myyahoo.com. Today's guest is Commissioner Willie Simmons with the Transportation Commission of Mississippi. How are you doing today, Commissioner?
Judge Russell, I'm great. It's an honor to be here with you today. You know, it was 30 years ago. This month.
For 29.
30 years. Well, you know, we cheated on your age a little bit, but about 30 years ago, you were an inspiration to me, and you trained and led me through the senator's process, how to be an effective senator. So thank you.
All right. Well, my pleasure. And apparently you did an outstanding job as Mississippi State Senator for a number of years. And then now you are Commissioner of Transportation, the first African American to hold that position, I believe.
First African American and first Democrat in a long time.
All right. And you've got two counterparts who are not Democrats.
Two counterparts, both Republicans, two white males. I being the Democrat, black, we work together and figure out how to build highways and take care of bridges to make the state safe.
Well, I noticed as I was doing my little background that you guys got a lot of money through ARPA funds, and you're also getting lots of money from the state lottery. Tell us a little bit about that and how that's working, particularly the lottery, because people always want to know, where is that lottery money going?
Hopefully in their pockets. We're hoping that we have some Mississippians winning some money, so some of the lottery money is going in their pocket. However, I was the person who authored the bill and the one who kind of ushered it through the Senate. So we're very pleased that in 2018, when Governor Bryant called a special session, we was able to get the lottery passed. And we dedicated the first $80 million of the lottery to infrastructure. During that time, we didn't think we would ever get to $80 million. But individuals have been buying lottery tickets, winning some money. But the Department of Transportation and the citizens of the state of Mississippi have been hitting a jackpot because what we did beginning in 2020 started to receive the $80 million, and we exceeded, or the state exceeded collecting the $80 million the first year. And now, for instance, this fiscal year, at the end of December, the state had already collected the $80 million, so the rest of it will go to education.
Right.
So your lottery money, in the name of Representative Alice Clark, is going on your highways. So when you're driving some of the highways in the country now, rather than smelling fried chicken, you're smelling asphalt.
Well, that's one way to put it. But in rural Mississippi really needs it. I live in rural Mississippi, and I have mud on my tires and truck right about now. But
it's needed, and we dedicated, we the commissioners, Commissioner King, Commissioner Caldwell, and myself, we decided that our two-lane highways had not been maintained in over 20 years, and they was in great need of repair. So we committed $80 million for the lottery funds to go to those highways. So when you're driving Highway 18 here in Hinds County, Highway 49, many other highways throughout the state of Mississippi, you are driving on the asphalt that was put there as a result of the lottery money.
Well, that is absolutely wonderful to know. And then I remember the study when a number of bridges were being closed throughout the state because they were just not safe. I mean, they were still up and people were crossing them in high numbers every day, but they were not safe. Can you kind of tell us what's going on with the bridges?
That was a situation where the federal government came in and took a look at our bridge situation. And many of the bridges we had is wood piling made out of, and the federal government threatened to close all of those bridges if we didn't do something. As a result of that, in here at Hinds County, there was a large number of bridges that was posted, and citizens had to be rerouted, going miles and miles. It created an emergency situation when our responders could not get to homes. So we went into a mode of trying to fix that. Governor Bryant called a special session, and as a result of that, we passed the lottery bill, but we also passed the bond bill that year, where we created what we refer to as the ERBF, the Emergency Road and Bridge Fund, and we put $250 million of bonds into that project, with some of it, about $37 million, going to the state roads and the other going to the counties. When the counties put their request in, as opposed to $250 million, it was over $1 billion worth of requests because bridges was in such bad repair. We expended that $250 million on that. The legislature came back and put another $119 million in it. And last year, 2022, they put another $100 million in it. So they advocated, and we advocated to put more money in it this year, because if we are going to make sure our highways and bridges are safe, we have to take care of those bad bridges that's been in the system for years and years, and that's what that money is being utilized for. In addition to that, Congress passed the IIJ, the infrastructure bill, and we are very fortunate to be getting additional money, and they also have bridge monies in that category that will be coming to the state.
Well, when the federal government allots that money, does it have to be approved by the legislature or the governor's office, or does that directly come to the Department of Transportation?
The way our system is set up here in the state, the legislature appropriate all our money. So even when the money's come from the federal government, and about 49% of our budget is federal dollars, it goes to the legislature, and the legislature appropriated. In addition to that, special funds such as the fuel tax, pump money collected at the pump, a few additional taxes on certain kind of vehicles, 18-wheelers and others. That money all go to the legislature, and they then appropriate it to us. This year, 2022, we are very grateful and thankful to the legislature, because we got received the largest budget in the history of transportation in the state of Mississippi. This year, our budget is $1.4 billion. That includes the additional money that we received from the federal government that's spread over a 5-year period. A lot of folks, Judge, thought we was getting kind of a block grant, but we was going to get $5 billion. Federal government folded that money over into our normal funding formula and spread it over a 5-year period. And it's going to come to about $996 million total of new money over and above what we was normally getting from the federal government. The state, because of the economy doing well, ARPA funded and other kind of dollars that the state legislature had, they add monies to that. So they gave us $100 million for bridges. They also gave us $40 million for our match. They gave us additional $35 million for capacity projects, and they put $45 million in for maintenance. So when we added all the money up that we received from the federal government as well as the state legislature, it came to $1.4 billion. We've been very fortunate to put out in contracts this past year almost $1 billion, some $900+ million that we put in contracts. And that's one of the reasons you see a lot of work being done on the highways.
Orange cones everywhere.
Everywhere. I say that, and some of your listeners going to say, well, great, they're taking care of the transportation system. No. Thanks to the legislature for being wise and giving us the money that they're giving us, but we still need $6 billion for capacity projects. Now, what I mean by capacity projects, those are your projects like in Highway 27, which is one of the most unsafe highways in the system between Vicksburg and Crystal Spring. And it's unsafe because of the 2-lane highway with no shoulders. 18-wheelers and log trucks are traveling along with the school buses. There's a lot of fatalities and accidents that occur on it. That kind of a project is a capacity project. Highway 61, the interstate system on 55, interstate system, Interstate 20 in Vicksburg. You go over to 15 and 19 in Neshoba County and Lauderdale County. So we have a lot of needs in capacity projects here in the Central District and throughout the state of Mississippi, come to a total of about $6 billion. But we also have a maintenance need to maintain the highways that we already have, because if you will recall, back in 1987, when the legislature passed the highway program in 1987, the 87 highway program, they did not put any maintenance money in it. They built it on, we're going to build highways, a 4-lane highway that's going to be, every citizen in the state of Mississippi will be within 50 miles of a 4-lane highway. Well, they did that. The money was there, and the only area that's not been completed is in Claiborne County, the bypass around Port Gibson. And I want to say to the citizens in Claiborne County that on yesterday, we moved the needle by putting the plan together to hire a consultant engineering firm to start the right-of-way and all of the stuff for that particular project. But the 87 highway program was very good, but it did not put any money in to maintain the highways. So we need about $250 million a year of new monies to help maintain and take care of those bridges that we talked about.
All right. I tell you, it sounds like a lot of money, but it takes a lot of money to maintain highways, to build bridges, and all of that. So while it is a lot of money, it's still not enough money. We'll be right back. Hi, we are back, and our guest today is Commissioner Willie Simmons, who represents the Central District on the Mississippi Transportation Commission. And you were just sharing with us the need for maintenance, capacity building, and ongoing projects. So what's next on the agenda? Did you need to say more about needing all of that money?
Well, next on the agenda, but let me just say to you that the Central District, and I'm very, very blessed and fortunate to be representing the Central District. The Central District consists of 22 counties, starting up in Bolivar County in the Mississippi Delta and going all the way down to Jefferson County on the west side of Interstate 55. If you take a look at Interstate 20 coming into Warren County, I have every inch of Interstate 20 from Vicksburg all the way over to Meridian, Lauderdale County. So everything between Vicksburg, the Mississippi River, Warren County, Hinds County, Rankin County, Scott County, Lee County, Newton County, Lauderdale County, Kemper County, Noxubee County, all of those counties, Madison County, it's in my district. So I'm very fortunate to have that section of the state of Mississippi that pulls Mississippi together and it glues Mississippi. We have coming into Hinds County, Interstate 55, Interstate 20, also 49 that takes you off the Gulf Coast and go to the Mississippi Delta. So we really connect. Our hospital medical facilities are here in Jackson. University system, for the most part, is here in the Jackson area. So we have a dire need to make sure that we have the resources to take care of the capital city and all of that flow of traffic. Millions of vehicles coming through this area on a weekly basis. So I'm blessed to be part of that. It also consists of about 1 million citizens in the state. So representing that area and having the challenge of looking at rural Mississippi, just like rural America, all over the country, where the infrastructure has been falling apart as a lack of resources. We have an extreme need and a tremendous need to be able to have the resources to invest in that infrastructure system, to be the connector who connects the rest of the state and the rest of the region, Atlanta, Mobile, Birmingham, Monroe in Texas, Dallas, all of that stuff, we connect because of our interstate system, 20 and 55. So as the commissioner for the Central District, I'm fortunate to be here, but also we have a tremendous need. So while I say to the legislative body, thank you for 2022 and giving us $1.4 billion more money than we've ever had, remember, if we're going to build for the future and continue to have the Continentals, Toyotas, the Nissans coming into our state, we have to have a state-of-the-art, first-class infrastructure system, because you've never seen an 18-wheeler that pulls off an interchange at the interstate and unload. It gets off the interchange system and gets onto a state highway, from a state highway to a county highway, and from a county highway to a municipality or city street. That means you got to have a system that's holistic, one that deals with it from a local level, the county, and the state, and our interstate system to make it work. That's what I'm in the business of doing as the transportation commissioner with our highways. But in addition to that, we have other modes of transportation: airports, ports, rails, and our public transit system. And as commissioner, we are part of putting together the plan and making it work for all modes of transportation.
Well, with that being said, it brings to my mind what people I hear complain about quite a bit, and that's our public transportation, especially in our municipalities. Is that something that as a transportation commissioner, your office would work with?
If you say transportation, as commissioner, we're part of it. Although we don't fully fund those programs, there's a collaborative arrangement where you have private and public dollars. The federal government puts a lot of money into those systems, and then as commissioner, we kind of coordinate and collaborate and work with those public transit systems to make it work. The JTRAN and the program here in Jackson, we help support that. We are currently communicating with the leadership in the city of Jackson as to what we can do with the Union Service, the station downtown Jackson here, how we can make that into some kind of a hub, perhaps, where our public transit system is bringing folks in from all over the state and transitioning them from one mode of vehicle or transportation to another. We are also in communication now with some of those leaders that have talked about in the past passenger rail. We are working on passenger rail for the Gulf Coast, like that's going to become a reality. But we are now also in the early stages of communicating about public transit that will come out of Atlanta to Birmingham, from Birmingham into Meridian, from Meridian to the airport here in Jackson, downtown Jackson, on to Vicksburg, and into Monroe and over to Dallas. If we're able to make that kind of connection, where we have a passenger rail system running east and west, coming through the city of Jackson, and running north and south as it always has been, then we'll have connected America, because we'll be able to put on a reunion here in Jackson, and you never have to get on an airplane, you never have to get in your car. You can get on passenger rail and come out of Atlanta, come out of Birmingham, come out of Dallas, come out of New Orleans, come out of St. Louis, Chicago, and meet in Jackson for the celebration, have fun, get back on the train and go back home.
All right. I am just absolutely fascinated with all of this, the possibilities.
Possibilities.
But
it takes money.
It does take money. And with inflation, that probably is eating into the dollars that you've already received. And hopefully the legislature will try to make up for you this year in some way.
Oh, inflation is like a pest that will eat away at your home. Inflation is terrible. And I say it's terrible because even with the money that the state legislature gave us, the $40 million, for instance, for maintenance and put monies into more of our highways, we was blessed and fortunate that they gave it to us, but that $40 million was eaten up by inflation. What it allowed us to do was to continue to carry out and do the programs that we already was kind of planning. And when inflation hit, we would have had to move back and take some of those projects off the table. With the $40 million that the state legislature has given us, we've been able to offset that inflation rate and do better. We are seeing, Judge Russell, where we would put out a project for bid, and we either get no bidders on it in the way of contractors, or we get bids and they are higher than what our estimates were. And when we get a certain percentage higher than what our projected cost was, we normally will rebid those projects. Now by the time we rebid the projects and get another bid in, because of inflation, it has gone to where it was in the beginning or higher. So inflation is devastating for us. The supply chain is creating a problem for us because our materials and equipment that we need, taking us much longer to get it. So it's delaying some of the work, but we have so much work to do. We are busy. And even with COVID and all of the disasters, the bad weather that we have had over the past 3 years, I came in, again, I'm blessed and fortunate and grateful to be serving. But I was sworn in January 6, 2020. And soon thereafter, we was in COVID.
2 months.
Soon thereafter, we was being hit with hurricanes, tornadoes. So we have gone from one disaster to another. And doing that, we, Department of Transportation, never stopped doing what we was doing. We continued to maintain highways. We continued to be out there clearing the highways whenever a disaster occurred. It didn't matter how cold it was. Matter of fact, on a cold day, during COVID, we had one of our employees pulling maintenance, and he ended up having to deliver a baby on the highway.
Oh, wow.
So we were out there doing what we was doing, and many of our employees were leaving us because of the pay and the condition that we was working them under. Also, the legislature last year, in 2022, gave us the authority and the flexibility to work with the State Personnel Board, and we have been able to give pay raises to our employees. So some of that brain drain and that loss of the workforce has somewhat leveled off somewhat because of that. So once again, I can't say enough thank you to the legislative body, but also we need more. Give us more.
All right, in order to keep these roads safe, keep them smooth, pothole free, and all of that. So now,
James Earl Jones said it in the Fields of the movie. If you build it, they'll come.
Yes.
If you don't build it, they won't come. We have to have a good infrastructure system in order to grow our economy and to continue to recruit and bring the industry in that the governor and his staff and the MDA has been bringing in over the years. Again, Nissan, Toyota, Cntl,
Amazon.
the facility, Amazon,
Yes.
the facility that is put up in Columbus. So all of those are coming here because the infrastructure system looks good and they see where we are planning to grow it to make it better.
Well, wonderful. Now, you were talking about all modes of transportation. And in the city of Jackson, Greyhound bus station is kind of a mystery to folk now. Are you aware of what's going on with them, and would people need to call your office for some help?
No, because we had nothing really to do with that.
Okay.
That was a decision by a private entity, Greyhound, and we had no muscles to flex to make them stay or go. We are willing, though, to sit with Greyhound, the city of Jackson, and others to talk about what we can do.
We're going to get you to hold that thought, and we're going to be right back.
Okay.
Welcome back once again. We're here with Commissioner Willie Simmons, Central District Commissioner for the Transportation Commission, and we were just touching on the Greyhound bus situation in Jackson. And go ahead with your thought process, but for our listeners and viewers, Greyhound has, I can't say that they pulled all the way out. They left Union Station, but it's a mystery to most people. How do you catch the bus and where the bus is and all of that? And Senator Simmons, Commissioner Simmons, I'm so sorry,
you may call
taking
me
you back a
to.
few years, but we're sharing with us what your office can do to maybe smooth that situation over.
If you just came on, you let me just remind you, Judge Russell can call me anything she wants to. And quite naturally, she would say senator because, again, she was the person who kind of guided and helped me when I first became a senator in 1993.
Oh, that was a long time ago.
She was serving as the secretary of the state senate in Jackson, Mississippi. I want to say she was the first female and black to serve in that capacity and did a great job, so thank you.
Thank you.
On the transportation system with Greyhound, we really did not have a say in that. That was a private entity in Greyhound. They had established here in the Jackson area at the Union Service Station, bus station, train station. I thought it was an ideal location, and I continue to think it's an ideal location. And it makes sense for it to be in the state capital. It makes sense for it to be where people can come and exchange means of transportation. For instance, we have a public transit system that we are part of funding, and much of that transportation system come into Jackson, Mississippi, going to our medical facilities and bringing folks other places. As a matter of fact, you see a lot of buses outside of this building from Bolivar County Community Action organization there in Bolivar County, transport them. So they have somewhat of a hub here at this site. But just think, if you had the Union Station where you're bringing passengers on the rail system, but you also have the bus and you have our public transit system moving folks in, and then there's a stop for the city of Jackson, it becomes a hub and it becomes a business. It becomes a place where people can easily come and go and exchange their ways of transporting to get them to where their destination is and where they're going. So as Commissioner of Transportation in the Central District, having all of those opportunities here and the possibility for it, I'm open to sitting with the mayor, the board, City of Jackson, the transit system here in Jackson, as well as Greyhound, and talk about what we all can do as Commissioner of Transportation and those various entities to work to make that an effective and efficient operation.
Does Greyhound have competition for, I guess, U.S.-wide transportation system? I know there used to be Trailways. Are there any other competitors with a Greyhound these days that you may be aware of?
I don't know what the competition is like, and I don't know what the national transportation in that arena, that level. I know that here in the state of Mississippi, we have a good transportation system. We have a system in the Delta bus line, working with the private sector. And several years ago, I hosted a job fair at a restaurant that I own, the Simmons Place restaurant. And we had over 150 individuals to come looking for a job with FedEx. FedEx got excited about it, and we had a conversation with them that there's no transportation for these folks, even if you hire them. And what FedEx did was committed to transporting the first 100. We now have a situation in the Delta bus line is part of that, similar to Greyhound, but it's more local here in the state. They transport about 4 bus loads of citizens from the Delta to FedEx every day.
That's about in Memphis or?
Memphis.
Okay.
That's about a 2-hour drive on the bus and come back after they work. So when people tell me that there's no workforce in the Delta, I remind them of that we have a transportation system, and because of the transportation system with Delta rides, moving those individuals, Delta Line and Delta Rides, moving those individuals to and from FedEx in Memphis. And we are now having conversation with other places such as Cntl, Amazon, Milwaukee Tools over in Grenada about doing the same kind of thing. Now, we want jobs to come to the Mississippi Delta. We don't want to just put people on the bus all the time and transport them out.
But it's great that they have jobs.
But it's great that they have opportunities to be able to get on the bus, go to work, come back home, be with their family, and spend their money in the local community.
Right.
So to answer your question, where's the commissioner with the Greyhounds of the world and the transportation system here in Metro Jackson? I'm all on board for doing whatever we can do as commissioner to make that work. We're going to be asking the legislature this session to increase the multi-million dollars that we spend. Right now, we spend about $10 million a year on our multimodal efforts. We asking the legislature to increase that and create a fund where we can put more money into those kind of operations.
All right. Well, sounds like possibilities. I hope someone from the city of Jackson or the surrounding area is listening to make a phone call and maybe be able to put together a sit down to talk about what is
If they can't reach me, call you and we'll put it together.
All right. If you can't reach him, call me and I'll get you together for sure. But I know that your primary focus is always on the different modes of transportation, the roads, the bridges. But are there other things that the Department of Transportation has responsibility for?
We do. We have something we call TAP grants. This is alternative money that we use working with the federal government to get dollars in. And one of the ones, this past Tuesday we met, and Jackson State University is going to get a grant from me as commissioner and we as commissioners to do a sidewalk lighting safety project on Lynch Street coming off the campus of Jackson State. We're going to be working with them to do that, and we look forward to doing some additional projects like that. The city of Jackson are eligible for those kinds of program projects. Any municipality, counties are eligible. We put in the Central District on Tuesday in the streets about $7 million of those kind of projects in various areas throughout my district. Commissioner King did something similar, and Commissioner Caldwell did something similar. So yes, we do a number of things. When COVID hit, and we were having folks having problems getting to the site to be tested or get their shots, we put in place a statewide toll-free number where individuals who wanted to go and get their shots could call that number, and one of our systems, regardless of where they were in the state, would make sure they was picked up and carried to a site to be given the shot.
All right, and then take them back home.
Take them back home.
I will.
So we are in the business of working with transportation, and again, the primary focus is on highways and bridges. That's where we spend the buck of our money. But also, we spend a ton of money on other things that we do with the multimodal transportation system.
Tell people
and things
about
like we just talked about.
Multimodal. Big word.
Different kinds of transportation.
Okay.
Multimodal, but we talk about airports, ports, rails, and public transit. Public transit is very dear to me because it takes care of a segment of the population in rural Mississippi, also in Jackson, but in rural Mississippi in particular, where individuals are having challenges getting to appointments, picking up their prescriptions, filling their prescription, and this public transit system provides a ways and means of getting them there with an affordable way of doing it, quality rides. So that's one that's very, very important to me, to make sure that we do get them more monies and we be able to expand it and do the kind of things that we need to do here in Jackson.
Well, and you know, research shows that when you have areas or communities that have sidewalks, people generally are healthier because they'll go out and walk if they have a sidewalk rather than walking in the street. And you were sharing that that's going to be a project over near Jackson State off Lynch Street and then in some other communities across the state. Lynch
Street, I think the plan is to do Lynch Street coming off of up where the famous hot dog place was, the Penguin, okay? You too young.
The Penguin, yes.
You too young to remember the original one.
The original one.
Which was on the corner of Lynch Street and Dalton.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best hot dogs you ever want to eat
mm-hmm.
came out of that facility. And then recently, a few years ago, another Penguin opened up to try and replicate what was going on now. I think they closed eventually. But coming down Lynch Street, mm-hmm. In front of the facility, Payton facility.
Walter Payton Clinic.
And where?
Gym.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So we'll be coming down that street where Cntl chicken place used to be a long time ago. But all those places.
All that predates my time in Jackson.
Coming down Lynch Street, back towards Cherry Road. It's where this sidewalk is going to be.
Oh, wow.
And then plans are to look at Dalton sometime in the future and do the same thing. But in addition to this having a sidewalk, it is handicap accessible so that we can have wheelchairs, bikes can utilize it, and we have lights on it. So it become a safe haven for individuals to walk. And what we really have talked to the city of Jackson about and Jackson State is that connecting that campus through those sidewalks to the museums.
Okay.
And the museums to the Children's Museum.
We're going to have to hold that thought. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. We're here with Commissioner Willie Simmons with the Mississippi Transportation Commission, Central District, and you were telling us about connecting to the two museums from Jackson State with sidewalks?
Yes, that's part of the communication that we have had with the president of Jackson State, City of Jackson, and Board of Supervisors, where we want to make that whole Jackson State area connected to the museum, two museums, and then from there to the Children's Museum, because we already have done the sidewalk going from the museum, agricultural, over Interstate 55 to the Children's Museum. We tie Jackson State to it with a walking wellness bike trail with the benches and the lights and all. It's going to be good for the city of Jackson.
It will be. That can be a whole game changer because now people have access without being in the middle of the street.
Yes, it's connectivity.
Yes.
That's what we're about in transportation, safety and connectivity.
Well, all right. Any other major things that y'all are responsible for that you want to share?
We are very pleased, and if you haven't gone to the Gulf Coast driving Highway 49 recently, you should do so. We completed that project last year, and that project was very costly, but it's one that is really working. It's increased the citizen ability to move from Jackson to the Gulf Coast and down to the Simpson County area on 49, going through Florence, and we were able to do that without upsetting the existing businesses there. There was delays in getting it completed, but we didn't have to relocate businesses. So 49 going south is tremendous. We also completed the bridge on Interstate 20, connecting to Interstate 55, State Street, in that particular area. There's a new bridge there. Costs about $43 million.
One bridge.
One bridge. We now have plans because the wear and tear of it and the 18-wheelers and all of the traffic on it, as I talked about, the traffic that's coming through Jackson, part of that is Interstate System 55 and 20. We have this year online to pave it, the rest of that. So you sometime by Labor Day, you'll be riding on a new paved interstate system in the city of Jackson with a new bridge. And when you get on 49 going south, you have made that. We are currently working with Madison County to finish the reunion and to widen Interstate 55 in that particular area. We're looking at Interstate 20 over at Vicksburg, because the interchange system in Vicksburg on the interstate is the most unsafe interchange system in the country. The way in which it was designed and the way in which the hills and everything are getting on it. If you ever driven Highway 61 coming out of Port Gibson and want to go to New Orleans and or the casino, Washington Street, and you got to get off of 61, cross over, 3 lanes, interstate system within a football field, so to speak. Very dangerous. So we're looking at how to make that better. We're working on Highway 25, leaving out of Rankin County, going up north to the Mississippi State area. We're looking at Highway 15 and Highway 19 and Highway 80 and 11 over the Meridian and the Neshoba County area. Highway 61 is one that needs to be 4-lane and completed because it's very unsafe. And again, as I said to you earlier, we just getting ready to let a contract for the design, the movement to complete the bypass at Port Gibson. So a lot of good things that's going on. Over the next few months, you will see us paving Highway 18 from Raymond all the way down to the Copiah County line, past Hinds County Community College and going through Utica. I'm excited about where we are, and all those things will happen based on the fact that we are in place and doing what we're doing. I tell folks all the time that opportunities are N-O-W-H-E-R-E. Some folks look at that and say nowhere, but I say no. It's the opportunities are now here.
Now here, that's
because
correct.
of the plans and the things that we're doing. However, we need resources to do that. So to my legislative friends who I served with for 26 years, as well as the new ones who have come in, such as my daughter, Sarita, who took the position that I was in. We send all of them, give us the money, invest in the money in us, and we will build a state-of-the-art infrastructure system that is second to none in the state of Mississippi.
Well, and this is where I always kind of challenge my viewers and listeners to stay involved as citizens and to talk to your legislators and tell them to give the Transportation Commission some more money.
Thank you.
That's a plug.
You're my
Now, I noticed the last time I looked, you had not qualified to run for re-election. You're up this year, aren't you?
Oh, you need to look again. I qualified to run for election the second week of January.
All right.
Because I want everybody to know that my work, in my opinion, has been good, but it's not finished. We have a lot more to do. So I qualified to run for re-election. And on August the 8th, we want all of your listeners to make sure they go back to the poll and vote for Willie Simmons.
All right, and so that you can continue to do this good work. Now, I found a road. It was there, but I was so pleased to take sort of I'm gonna call it in the cut road off of 49 to get to the Gulf Coast. Do you know the road I'm talking about? You probably know the number and everything, but
Yeah.
It's kind of a back road. Did you guys do that, or was that a local kind of a thing?
We did it, if it's the one that I'm thinking of, past south of Wiggins.
Yes.
We did that before I became commissioner. That highway was done. And it is a great route into Biloxi. Mm-hmm. So
you come off right at where the Beau Rivage is when you go down through there, and you don't have to turn, you don't have to do anything, you don't have a whole lot of traffic lights.
Straight shots.
It is a straight shot, and it probably cuts off 15, 20 minutes of drive
over
time.
Interstate 10, right to 90, and you're in the middle of it. Oh,
well,
that's a great system. And that's what we're able to do as commissioners when we have the resources to take care of the infrastructure. And a lot of folks can't see it because it takes so long to build a highway. You can't build a highway like you build a house. You decide you're going to build a mansion, you go get someone, an architect, to draw the plans. You find a carpenter in a few days, you have a home, your castle is built. It takes much more planning because we have to look at everything. When we decide we're going to build a capacity highway, we have to take a look at, one, where the resource is going to come from. Once we get the resource committed, then we have to go into pre-construction. That consists of the hydraulics and deciding which way the highway is going to go to keep from flooding something else. But also when we run into birds and snakes or whatever it is out there in the wilderness, Sierra Club or somebody saying you got to protect those things, so we got to reroute and go around that. So it takes a lot to go into building a highway system. But I'm very pleased to be the commissioner who has the responsibilities of working through all of that and making it happen.
Well, when you said, you notice I just kind of went back when you said you found a bed of snakes and all of that kind of stuff. When
Cemetery,
you're
whatever it may be.
Cemeteries.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
We can't go in and just disturb and upset a cemetery and build a highway over it. We either have to go around that or move that cemetery to some other place based upon what's there. And so again, the respect of that. And then when you get into birds, if there's a bird that's on the endangered species and they got nesting that they got in the swamp out there, you got to work around it. You can't disturb it. So
lots and lots of challenges, but
yes.
Apparently progress is being made in the state of Mississippi.
And then the landowners, because we have to get the right of way. So we got to go in and negotiate and treat you nice, pay you fair, and hopefully get you to understand that it's progress in the making. And once we do that, when we maintain those highways, all this asphalt that I'm talking about, I get phone calls from individuals saying, why y'all holding us up? I'm late getting to where I'm supposed to be going. I need to get there, stop. Don't hold the traffic up. Work at night. Well, we try to do it at night, it's going to cost us more money. Because the contractors say, if I'm doing night work, it's going to cost you more.
Right, because the danger for them is
Exactly.
highly increased.
Yes.
And can you share something with us about people trying to speed through construction zones?
That's one that I am adamant on. If you're going to speed in our speed zone, we should lock you up and fine you or whatever we got to do, because it's very dangerous. We have had so many of our employees to get injured and or killed working because some dummy wants to speed through and not obey and respect the signs, and all of a sudden end up hitting some of our employees. I have no patience for those kinds of folks. We need to put them back in a wagon with a mule pulling it and put them on a dirt road somewhere.
Put them on a dirt road. That
Yes.
would be punishment enough for them. Because I'm sorry doesn't bring that life back.
No.
And I see it all the time where people are trying to go around the orange cones and those kinds of things.
Yeah.
We only have a few minutes left. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you want to share with our viewers?
Yes, let me just say to the entire public, your transportation commissioners play a very important role in connecting you to your destination. We also play a very important role in the future of the state in the way of economics and infrastructure. With that, get to know your commissioners and work with them and support your commissioners and work with the legislative body to get the resources that's needed, because what we do is so important to make sure that we have safety with our highway system and keeping you safe when you're traveling, that we are taking care of the bridges so that that school bus does not crash and go crumbling into a creek or lake or whatever case may be when it's crossing, that the ambulance and the fire engine do not have to go 10 miles away around because the bridge is out. We in the transportation business want to make sure that we are ahead of all of those things, and we are doing the preventive stuff to make sure safety is in place so that when you need a fire engine to come to your home, it can get there timely. When you need an ambulance to come and pick up a loved one because they are having a stroke or heart attack, they can get there in time without having to go 10, 20 miles around. Communicate with your commissioners to get to know what our roles and responsibilities are, and then encourage us to do the right thing at the right time, and also encourage your legislators to provide the resources needed to take care of that.
Commissioner Willie Simmons, Central District Transportation Commissioner. I thank you so much for being here today, and may have you back.
Please do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Once
Thank
again,
you, listeners.
you're my judge and my mentor.
Great.
When you mention agriculture, most people think of farming. That's planting, growing, harvesting and selling crops grown in a field, laboring in those fields behind a mule and a plow from dusk to dawn every day. This vision is a big misconception and could not be further from the truth. According to the United States Department of Agriculture, USDA, the agricultural industry and related industries provide 11% of jobs in America. In 2017, it was reported that 21.6 million Americans were employed in the agricultural industry. Women and minorities are underrepresented in those numbers, and we encourage you to consider agriculture as a career. While farming may be the cornerstone of agriculture, the overall world of agriculture is highly innovative and is so much more than just farming. A new generation of agriculture professionals prepare to take on the science, technology, and management that exist in the world of agriculture. Jobs in agriculture are segmented into 7 basic categories, which include plant science, natural resources, food science, ag business, ag mechanics, and technology. In those categories, you can find individuals working as landscape designers, publicists, foresters, plant doctors, journalists, accountants, veterinarians, farmers, ranchers, lawyers, engineers, pet groomers, loggers, agronomists, zoologists, wind turbine technicians, researchers, policy analysts, food safety, drone pilots, robotics, and the list goes on and on and on. Let us take a moment to hear from a few of those professionals who work in ag.
I am Dr. Cindy Ayers Elliott, CEO of Footprint Farms, a 68-acre urban farm and ranch here in the city of Jackson. I hold a degree in Business Administration and Finance and a degree in Economic Development from the University of Massachusetts Amherst, and a PhD from the I Love Jackson State University in Urban Management and Higher Education. I've worked 26 years on Wall Street, traveling the world, and today I'm a full-time farmer, growing a varieties of specialty crops and raising livestock.
Hi, my name is Bill Evans, and I'm the Director of Development and Chief Horticulturist at Biosoil Enhancers in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. I've worked in vegetable crops for almost 30 years now, running university research farms in Ohio and Mississippi and doing applied soil and crop research. At Biosoil Enhancers, I write grant proposals for field research projects. I also conduct research and farm demonstrations on how bacteria and fungi can help plants get more nutrients from the soil and help conserve natural resources on farms.
Hello, I'm Tanya Gray Jenkins. I'm the publicist and social media director for Footprint Farms. I hold a Bachelor of Science degree in computer science from Jackson State University. As a publicist, I generate publicity through the use of techniques in advertising, marketing, and public relations. My primary duty is brand development through social media. As the social media director, I manage the company's online community by reading customers' comments, answering questions, and actively engaging the audience.
Hi, my name is Dr. David K. Powell. I attended Jackson State University for 2.5 years as an undergraduate, majoring in biology before transferring to Tuskegee University, where I was accepted into the veterinary medical program, becoming a second-generation veterinarian to graduate from Tuskegee's program. I have also served in the military as an Army veterinary preventive medical officer and as a supervisory public health veterinarian with FSIS USDA.
My name is Dr. Kara Woods, and I serve as the research analyst at the Socially Disadvantaged Farmers and Ranchers Policy Research Center that's housed at Alcorn State University. I have a PhD from Tuskegee in Public Policy and Development. I manage all the research that's funded at the Policy Center to make sure that farmers get what they need in the Farm Bill.
Hi, I'm Captain John Martin with the Jackson Fire Department, and I do social media marketing. Social media is an essential component of farming because social media closes the gap between farmers and consumers. Social media marketing helps bring awareness and visibility to surrounding communities and abroad. Your average produce will have traveled at least 1,500 miles before entering your local grocery store. Social media marketing allows consumers to be informed and access better quality food in their local vicinity. Wow, it's so amazing seeing people connect and interact with local farmers via social media.
As you can see, agriculture offers endless career possibilities with endless opportunities for exciting, fulfilling, and profitable careers.